Christmas morning at my childhood home in suburban Denver. The living room sparkled with twinkling lights wrapped around our massive pine tree, and wrapping paper covered every surface like colorful snow. I watched from the corner armchair as expensive gifts were distributed to every family member except me. Designer handbags for my sisters, premium golf clubs for my brother, luxury spa packages for cousins. When I finally asked about my gift, my mother Patricia laughed cruelly. "Oh, honey, we completely forgot about you." The room erupted in snickers from aunts, uncles, and cousins. Extended family joined in the mockery like vultures circling wounded prey. My heart shattered as I realized this deliberate exclusion represented years of being treated as the family disappointment, the afterthought, the one who never quite measured up. But I smiled mysteriously and said, "That's perfectly fine. I got myself something special too." The morning had started like every Christmas since childhood. I arrived at 7:30 sharp carrying homemade cookies and a bottle of expensive wine I could barely afford on my supposed artist's salary. My sister Amanda swept through the front door at 8:15, designer heels clicking against hardwood floors, arms loaded with professionally wrapped gifts that screamed money and success. Her husband Jake followed behind, adjusting his Rolex and complaining about traffic from their penthouse downtown. My brother Tyler showed up 20 minutes later in his leased BMW girlfriend Stephanie, clinging to his arm like expensive jewelry. She wore a coat that probably cost more than my monthly rent, and Tyler made sure everyone noticed by loudly discussing their recent trip to Aspen, where he supposedly closed some major business deal. The gift exchange began after Mom's elaborate brunch spread. I sat cross-legged on the floor near the tree, watching Patricia distribute presents with the precision of a general commanding troops. Amanda received a Chanel purse that made her squeal with delight. Tyler unwrapped titanium golf clubs that cost more than most people's cars. Cousins, aunts, uncles, even family friends received thoughtful, expensive gifts chosen specifically for their interests and personalities. The pile of presents dwindled. One by one, family members retreated to corners, with their treasures comparing gifts and taking photos for social media. I remained on the floor beside the tree, surrounded by discarded wrapping paper, but holding nothing. The silence grew uncomfortable. Eyes began darting in my direction. "Where's Luz's gift?" asked my cousin Jennifer innocently enough. Patricia's laugh cut through the room like breaking glass. "Oh, honey, we completely forgot about you. There's just been so much going on with Amanda's promotion and Tyler's new business venture. You understand, right?" "Sweetie." The room erupted. Uncle Mark chuckled and shook his head. Aunt Susan covered her mouth, but her eyes crinkled with amusement. Tyler's girlfriend whispered something to him that made him smirk. Amanda didn't even look up from photographing her new purse. Heat flooded my cheeks. My chest tightened until breathing became difficult. 28 years of being the family afterthought crystallized into this single moment of public humiliation. But instead of tears or anger, something else rose up inside me. Something that had been building for months of secret work and hidden success. I smiled mysteriously and stood up, brushing wrapping paper scraps from my jeans. "That's perfectly fine," I said, my voice steady and calm. "I actually got myself something really special this year, too." The room's mocking energy shifted slightly as I pulled out my smartphone and opened a voice recording app. The little red button had been capturing audio for the past 30 minutes, documenting every cruel laugh and dismissive comment with crystal clarity. "Actually, this works out perfectly," I continued, my voice growing stronger, "because I've been documenting our family dynamics for research purposes. 3 years of recordings to be exact." Amanda's head snapped up from her purse. Tyler's smirk faded. Patricia's face went pale beneath her carefully applied makeup. "What do you mean documenting?" Patricia asked, her voice losing its earlier confidence. I scrolled through my phone, revealing dozens of audio files with dates and timestamps. Christmas 2022, Easter 2023. Tyler's birthday party, Amanda's law firm celebration, family barbecues, holiday dinners, casual Sunday visits. 3 years of evidence showing exactly how this family operated. See, I've always wondered about the family hierarchy. I explained, my tone conversational but sharp. Amanda here is the golden child, summa cum laude from University of Colorado Law Partnership track at Hartwell and associates frequent family financial bailouts when her student loans got overwhelming. Never questioned, always celebrated. Amanda's mouth opened in protest, but I continued before she could speak. Tyler is the charming favorite. 3 failed businesses, but every bankruptcy gets quietly covered by mom and dad. The food truck venture that lost $40,000, covered. The cryptocurrency consulting firm that lasted 2 months, bills paid. The personal training studio that never opened, lease obligations handled. Tyler's face reddened. His girlfriend Stephanie looked confused, probably hearing about these failures for the first time. Then there's me, I said, my voice gaining power. The backup child, the family disappointment who was supposed to be grateful for scraps while watching my siblings receive unconditional love and resources. I played a recording from last Easter. Patricia's voice filled the room crystal clear. Well, at least Amanda and Tyler make us proud. Luce is just going through a phase with this art thing. She'll grow out of it eventually and find something practical. The room fell silent except for the recording. I let it play for 30 seconds before stopping it. Mom, I remember being denied college tuition because the family budget was tight, I continued. Meanwhile, Amanda got full ride support plus $500 monthly spending money. I earned a partial art scholarship to Colorado State, and my celebration dinner was canceled because Tyler had a baseball game that same night, a regular season game where he sat on the bench for 9 innings. Jennifer's eyes widened. Several family members shifted uncomfortably. But here's the interesting part, I said, my smile growing broader. These recordings capture something fascinating about family psychology, the systematic exclusion of one member while elevating others, the casual cruelty disguised as family tradition, the way everyone participates in maintaining a hierarchy that benefits some while destroying others. I held up my phone again. 3 years of Christmas mornings, birthday parties, family dinners, and casual conversations, all documenting the same pattern, the same dismissive comments, the same cruel laughter when I'm excluded or hurt. Patricia stood up abruptly. Luz, honey, you're being dramatic. We're family. Families tease each other. Families don't systematically exclude one member from love support and basic respect, I replied calmly, but that's okay, because while you've been playing favorites, I've been building something incredible. Amanda finally spoke up. Building what you live in that tiny apartment and sell paintings at coffee shops. My smile became radiant. That's where you're wrong, sister. See, while you were all assuming I was struggling and failing, I was actually creating an empire. A very successful, very profitable empire that's been funding a lifestyle you can't even imagine. Tyler laughed sarcastically. Right, Luce, your coffee shop art empire. Not art sales, I said quietly. Much bigger than that. I paused, letting the tension build as every eye in the room focused on me. The family who had spent 3 decades dismissing me was about to learn exactly what their forgotten daughter had accomplished while they weren't paying attention. I've been running multiple online businesses that generate over $100,000 monthly. The words hung in the air like smoke from an explosion. The silence stretched for several heartbeats before nervous laughter erupted from different corners of the room. Uncle Mark slapped his knee. Tyler shook his head like I'd told an amusing joke. Even Patricia smiled indulgently, as if I were a child claiming to be a princess. Oh, sweetie, Amanda said in her patronizing lawyer voice. Online businesses are complicated. Most of them fail within the first year. It's really hard to make sustainable income from internet ventures. You're absolutely right, I agreed cheerfully. Most online businesses do fail. That's why I started multiple revenue streams instead of relying on just one. I opened my banking app and turned the phone screen toward the room. The balance showed $2,347,812 across various accounts. Tyler's laughter died in his throat. Amanda's eyes widened behind her designer glasses. Patricia gripped the arm of her chair so hard her knuckles turned white. What started as selling digital artwork 3 years ago has evolved into a comprehensive creative agency. I explained, my voice steady and professional. Lou's Creative Solutions serves over 200 clients across North America. I swiped to my business dashboard. The online course teaching digital art techniques generates $50,000 monthly. The social media management for major brands brings in $30,000 monthly. My subscription-based design service for small businesses earns $40,000 monthly. Jennifer gasped audibly. Several cousins moved closer to see my phone screen. But wait, there's more. I continued borrowing the phrase from late-night television commercials. The real money comes from my investment portfolio and real estate holdings. Tyler finally found his voice. That's impossible. You live in that crappy apartment on Colfax Avenue. If you had millions, why would you live like that? Strategic decision-making, I replied simply. While you've been spending money on image and status symbols, I've been investing in appreciating assets. That crappy apartment cost me $800 monthly, leaving more money available for wealth-building activities. I pulled up my investment account on another app. Stock portfolio currently valued at $450,000. Cryptocurrency holdings at $200,000. And then there are the properties. Patricia leaned forward despite herself. Properties... 3 rental units in the River North Arts District, average monthly income of $3,000 each. A vacation rental cabin in Breckenridge that books year-round at premium rates. And my crown jewel. I paused for dramatic effect. A downtown office building that I purchased 8 months ago. Amanda scoffed. Loose office buildings cost millions. There's no way you could afford commercial real estate at your age. The Meridian Tower building on 17th Street, I said calmly. 12 floors, 80% occupied, purchased for $2.8 million with a combination of cash and commercial lending. Amanda's face went completely white. The Meridian Tower. You know it, I asked innocently. That's where my law firm is located, she whispered. I know, I said with a brilliant smile. Hartwell and Associates Suite 807, monthly rent of $12,000. You've been my tenant for 8 months, Amanda. Every rent payment you've written has been going directly into my account. The room erupted in chaos. Tyler jumped up from his chair. Patricia started asking rapid-fire questions. Uncle Mark demanded to see documents. Amanda sat frozen, her mouth hanging open like a broken puppet. You've been my landlord, Amanda finally managed. Through my property management LLC, yes. Martinez Holdings has been collecting your rent checks since April. You've literally been paying for my investment returns while complaining about your little sister's lack of success. Tyler stepped forward aggressively. Prove it. Show us actual documents, not just numbers on a phone screen. I reached into my purse and withdrew a folder I'd brought specifically for this moment. Property deeds, bank statements, business registration documents, tax returns showing income levels that dwarfed anything else in the room. 3 years of tax returns, I said, spreading papers across the coffee table. Business licenses for 4 different companies, property ownership documentation, investment account statements, everything audited and certified by Morrison and Associates, the same accounting firm that handles Dad's construction business. Patricia grabbed the tax return from last year. Her hands trembled as she read the bottom line. Luce made more money than Robert's entire construction company last year. Considerably more, I confirmed. While you've all been assuming I was the family failure, I've been quietly building wealth that exceeds anything this family has ever achieved. I gathered the documents back into my folder. But here's the really interesting part, the part you're all going to find absolutely fascinating. Every person in the room leaned forward simultaneously. All of this success happened while being systematically excluded from family support. No financial help, no emotional encouragement, no networking assistance, no family connections. I built this empire completely alone, using only my own resources and determination. I stood up and walked toward the fireplace, commanding the room's attention. Do you understand what that means? It means I succeeded not just without your help, but despite your active discouragement. Every dismissive comment, every cruel laugh, every time you forgot about me or excluded me from family support, you were actually motivating me to prove you wrong. The silence was deafening. So when you forgot to get me a Christmas gift this morning, you actually gave me the perfect opportunity to share some gifts of my own. I turned back to face them all, my smile bright and confident. But we're just getting started. See, there are a few more things about my little empire that I think you'll find absolutely shocking. Patricia set down my tax return with shaking hands. Luce, even if this is all true, you can't possibly own an entire office building. Commercial real estate requires massive down payments and extensive credit history. You're absolutely right, Mom, I replied, walking back to the Christmas tree where ribbons and wrapping paper still littered the floor. Commercial real estate is complicated and expensive. That's why I spent 2 years building the necessary foundation. I pulled up another app on my phone, this one showing a map of Denver with multiple property pins. My real estate journey started small. That first rental duplex in 5 Points cost me $120,000. I renovated it myself, learned about property management, built relationships with contractors and city officials. Tyler crossed his arms defensively. One property doesn't make you a real estate mogul. One property led to 2, then 3, then 4. I continued zooming in on different map locations. Each purchase taught me more about market analysis, financing strategies, and property valuation. By year 2, I had enough equity and experience to qualify for commercial lending. I switched to a different screen showing property details. The Meridian Tower was actually a distressed sale. Previous owner defaulted on their loan after the pandemic affected occupancy rates. I bought it for 60 cents on the dollar with a combination of cash seller financing and a commercial mortgage. Amanda finally stood up from her chair. Show me the lease agreement. If you really own my building, prove it. I opened my email and pulled up the digital contract. Hartwell and Associates lease agreement signed April 15th. Tenant signature Amanda Martinez. Landlord signature Martinez Holdings LLC, authorized by Luz Elena Martinez, managing member. Amanda snatched my phone and stared at the screen. Her face went through several shades of red before settling on pale gray. This is impossible, she whispered. I've been writing rent checks to Martinez Holdings for months. I thought it was just a coincidence with our last name. Not a coincidence, I said gently. I've been your landlord since spring. Every month when you complain about rising downtown rents, you're literally complaining about paying money directly to me. Tyler grabbed the phone from Amanda and scrolled through the document. This says the building owner has right of first refusal on lease renewals. That means I decide whether Amanda's law firm gets to stay in their prestigious downtown location. I finished. Their lease expires in March. Renewal depends entirely on my approval as the building owner. Patricia's voice came out as a croak. You own the building where Amanda works. I own the building where Amanda built her entire professional reputation, I corrected. That prestigious 17th Street address she's always bragging about. The modern offices with mountain views that impress her clients. The exclusive executive elevator that makes her feel successful, all mine. I took my phone back from Tyler and pulled up property photos. 12 floors of Class A office space. Monthly rental income of $68,000. Current occupancy rate of 82%, with 3 new tenants signing leases in January. Jennifer spoke up from across the room. Luce, how did you learn about real estate investing? Did you take courses or something? Trial and error mostly, I replied, plus countless hours of research networking with other investors and learning from expensive mistakes. But the real education came from watching this family's financial decisions for 28 years. Uncle Mark raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? I mean watching Dad struggle with cash flow in his construction business because he keeps making emotional decisions instead of strategic ones. Watching Tyler get bailed out of failed ventures without learning from his mistakes. Watching Amanda spend her entire salary on lifestyle inflation while building zero wealth. I gestured around the room at their expensive clothes and accessories. Everyone here prioritizes looking successful over actually building wealth. Designer clothes, luxury cars, exclusive restaurants, expensive vacations. All consumption, no investment. Patricia stood up defensively. We work hard for what we have. You work hard to maintain an image, I replied calmly, but working hard and building wealth are completely different things. I learned that by watching all of you make the same financial mistakes year after year. I walked over to the window, overlooking their manicured backyard. While you were all focused on impressing neighbors and maintaining social status, I was focused on creating passive income streams and building real net worth. Tyler's voice carried a note of panic. Okay, fine, maybe you've done well with some investments, but you're still just our little sister. You can't just come in here and act like you're better than all of us. I turned back to face him with a serene smile. I'm not acting like anything, Tyler. I'm simply sharing factual information about my financial position compared to yours. What's that supposed to mean? He demanded. It means that while you've been treating me like the family disappointment, I've actually become the most successful person in this room. By every measurable financial metric, I've exceeded anything any of you have achieved. I paused, letting that sink in before delivering the next revelation. But speaking of your business ventures, Tyler, there's something else you might find interesting about my commercial connections. His face went white. What about my business? Well, I said, slowly savoring the moment, remember that huge potential client you've been trying to land for the past 6 months, the one that could save your consulting firm from bankruptcy. Tyler nodded frantically. I think it's time you learned who's really been evaluating your proposals. Tyler's confident posture crumbled as my words registered. What do you mean evaluating my proposals? I pulled out my laptop and opened it on the coffee table, angling the screen so everyone could see. Pinnacle Solutions, your dream client, the contract that represents 60% of your projected revenue for next year. The deal that could single-handedly save Martinez Business Consulting from filing bankruptcy. How do you know about Pinnacle? Tyler demanded, his voice rising an octave. Because Luce Creative Solutions has been their primary marketing and branding contractor for 18 months. I replied, calmly pulling up email exchanges. I designed their current logo, managed their social media presence, created their website, and handle all their creative campaigns. Amanda leaned forward to see the laptop screen. That's not possible. Pinnacle is a major corporation. $47 million in annual revenue. I confirmed, scrolling through project files. Headquarters in downtown Denver, satellite offices in Colorado Springs and Fort Collins. They're expanding rapidly and needed creative services that could scale with their growth. I clicked on a folder labeled Tyler Martinez Consulting Review. Tyler's face went ashen as he recognized his own business proposals displayed on my screen. When Pinnacle's CEO mentioned they needed operational consulting, I recommended they consider local firms. I even suggested they review proposals from Martinez Business Consulting, thinking it might help my family. Tyler's voice came out as a whisper. You recommended my company. I did, I said with a sad smile. Despite years of you treating me terribly, I tried to help your business succeed. I put in a good word with Jonathan Reeves, Pinnacle's CEO. I told him you came highly recommended from a trusted source. I opened Tyler's submitted proposal documents. Unfortunately, your presentations were completely inadequate for a company of Pinnacle's sophistication. Tyler jumped up. Let me see those. Sit down, Tyler, I said firmly, and something in my voice made him comply immediately. I've been the anonymous reviewer evaluating your proposals for 3 months. Every revision, every follow-up email, every desperate attempt to impress them has been crossing my desk for approval. I scrolled through email threads between myself and Pinnacle's executive team. The consensus among their leadership team is that Martinez Business Consulting lacks the strategic depth and professional competence necessary for their expansion project. Patricia gasped, "You've been sabotaging Tyler's business." "Not sabotaging," I corrected sharply, "protecting Pinnacle from inadequate service providers. My professional reputation depends on maintaining quality standards for my clients." I turned the laptop toward Tyler. Your financial projections were unrealistic. Your timeline estimates showed complete inexperience with projects of this scope. Your team consists of you and one part-time assistant, but you bid on a project requiring specialized expertise in supply chain optimization, digital transformation, and market analysis. Tyler's face reddened with humiliation and anger. I could have hired specialists. "Well, with what money?" I asked gently. "Your company has a negative cash flow, maxed out credit lines, and outstanding invoices you can't pay. How exactly would you hire specialists for a project requiring $500,000 in upfront investment?" I pulled up Tyler's business credit report on another screen. Martinez Business Consulting currently has a credit score of 412. 3 suppliers have filed collection claims. Your business insurance lapsed 2 months ago because you couldn't afford the premiums. Stephanie, Tyler's girlfriend, stared at him in shock. "Tyler, you told me your business was thriving." "It is thriving," Tyler shouted. "I just need this one contract to turn things around." "No," I said quietly. "You need to learn how to run a business before you destroy more relationships and lose more money. Pinnacle's contract would have bankrupted you within 6 months because you lack the infrastructure to deliver what you promised." I closed the laptop and looked directly at Tyler. "I've actually been protecting you from making a catastrophic mistake that would have ruined your reputation permanently in Denver's business community." Tyler slumped back into his chair, defeated. "So, that's it. My company is finished." "Your current approach is finished," I clarified, "but that doesn't mean you can't rebuild with better strategy and realistic expectations." I stood up and walked over to him. "Tyler, you're intelligent and charismatic. You could absolutely succeed in business if you learned to manage finances, set realistic goals, and stop expecting everyone else to solve your problems." "Easy for you to say," he muttered. "You had some lucky breaks." "Lucky breaks." I laughed not unkindly. "Tyler, I worked 16-hour days for 3 years building my businesses. I lived on ramen noodles and peanut butter sandwiches while investing every penny into growth. I taught myself web design, marketing strategy, financial analysis, and project management through free online resources and library books." I gestured around their expensive living room. "While you were enjoying family financial support and making excuses for failures, I was building skills and creating value for real clients with real problems." Patricia spoke up defensively. "Luce, we've always supported you." "Have you—" I turned to face her. "When exactly did this family support my business goals? When did anyone here offer encouragement, connections, or even basic interest in what I was building?" The room fell silent. "But that's okay," I continued, my voice growing stronger, "because your lack of support actually taught me something invaluable about self-reliance and determination." I walked back to the Christmas tree, stepping carefully around the scattered wrapping paper, which brings me to the most important revelation of all, the one that's going to change absolutely everything for this family. Every person in the room held their breath. See, while you were all busy excluding me from family traditions and support systems, I was quietly building something that affects every single person in this room. I picked up my phone again, thumb hovering over an app icon. Something that's going to give all of you a very different perspective on family loyalty and respect. I opened the app and turned my phone screen toward the room. The Luminous Arts Foundation website filled the display, showing photographs of children working on colorful paintings and sculptures in bright, well-equipped art studios. While you've all been focused on accumulating personal wealth and status symbols, I've been building something much more meaningful, a non-profit foundation that's donated over $500,000 to children's art programs across Colorado. Jennifer moved closer to see the screen. You started a charity. I founded and personally fund the Luminous Arts Foundation. I explained, scrolling through project galleries. Our mission is providing creative opportunities to underserved communities that can't afford art education. Patricia squinted at the photos. Those look like professional art studios. They are professional quality, I confirmed. We've built 12 fully equipped art studios in Title I schools across the Denver metropolitan area. Each studio serves an average of 250 students annually. I swiped to a video testimonial page. A young girl with pigtails spoke enthusiastically about learning to paint landscapes. A teenage boy demonstrated pottery techniques he'd mastered through foundation programs. Teachers shared stories about behavioral improvements and increased academic engagement among participating students. The foundation has provided scholarships to 15 students for advanced art instruction at community colleges and universities. I continued, we've created after-school programs reaching over 3,000 kids in neighborhoods where creative opportunities were previously non-existent. Tyler's voice carried a note of skepticism. How do you fund something that expensive? Personal donations from my business profits, I replied simply. 20% of Luz Creative Solutions' monthly revenue goes directly to foundation operations. Last year alone, I contributed $240,000 from my own accounts. I clicked on a section labeled Impact Stories and began reading testimonials. Listen to this one from Maria Santos, age 14, from Green Valley Elementary. Before the art program, I was failing most of my classes and getting in trouble every week. Learning to draw gave me a way to express feelings I didn't know how to talk about. Now I want to become a graphic designer and help other kids like me. Amanda's expression softened slightly. That's actually really touching. Here's another one, I continued, from Marcus Johnson, age 16, who started in our program 3 years ago. The foundation scholarship let me take college-level art courses while still in high school. I just got accepted to Colorado State University's Fine Arts program with a full academic scholarship. None of this would have happened without Ms. Luce believing in kids like me. I looked up from the phone to meet each family member's eyes. These children remind me of myself at their age, overlooked, underestimated, hungry for someone to recognize their potential. Patricia shifted uncomfortably. Luce, we always recognized your artistic talent. Did you? I asked quietly, because I remember being told art was a hobby, not a career. I remember being encouraged to find something more practical and stable. I remember my portfolio being dismissed as cute drawings that would never support a real life. I scrolled to the foundation's financial transparency page. But these kids don't hear those discouraging messages. They hear that their creativity matters, that their ideas have value, that someone believes in their ability to succeed. Uncle Mark cleared his throat. How long have you been running this foundation? 3 years, I replied. Started it the same month I launched my first online business. I wanted to ensure that financial success translated into meaningful impact for others. I clicked on a documentary-style video showcasing one of the foundation's newest art studios. Children aged 6 to 16 worked alongside professional teaching artists, their faces bright with concentration and joy. Paint-covered smocks, clay-stained hands, and proud smiles filled the screen. This studio opened last month at Roosevelt Elementary. I narrated as the video played. 600 students now have the access to visual arts instruction that didn't exist before. The principal reports a 30% decrease in disciplinary problems and significant improvement in academic performance among participating students. The video featured interviews with parents thanking the foundation for giving their children confidence and purpose. Teachers described watching shy students blossom into confident young artists. Community leaders praised the program's positive influence on neighborhood pride and engagement. The waiting list for our programs extends beyond our current capacity, I explained as the video ended. We receive over 50 applications monthly from schools requesting foundation support. Jennifer wiped her eyes. Luz, this is incredible. Why didn't you ever tell us about this work? When would I have told you? I asked gently, during family dinners where conversation focuses exclusively on Amanda's legal victories and Tyler's latest business ventures. During holiday gatherings where my accomplishments are dismissed as unrealistic dreams. I scrolled to a section showing financial reports audited by an independent accounting firm. The foundation operates with complete transparency. 87% of donations go directly to program costs. Administrative expenses are minimal because I donate my time and business resources to keep overhead low. Patricia leaned forward to read the financial documents. You've really donated $500,000 to children's programs. $512,000 over 3 years, I specified, with plans to double that amount next year as my business profits continue growing. I opened a new section showing upcoming projects. We're expanding into rural Colorado communities where creative education is even more limited. Mountain schools in small towns that haven't had art teachers in decades. Tyler's voice came out subdued. I had no idea you were involved in anything like this. Because you never asked, I replied without malice. None of you have ever shown genuine curiosity about my life, my goals, or my values. You've all been content, assuming I was struggling and failing while focusing entirely on your own pursuits. I stood up and walked toward the fireplace again, still holding my phone. But here's what makes this foundation work particularly meaningful to me personally. I turned back to face them all. Every child who benefits from these programs represents money that could have gone towards supporting a family that systematically excluded and diminished me. The room fell completely silent. $500,000 that could have paid for family vacations, expensive gifts, or bailing out failing businesses. Instead, it went to children who appreciate opportunities and don't take support for granted. I paused, letting that reality settle over everyone. Children who say thank you, who work hard to deserve the chances they're given, who understand that someone believing in them is a gift, not an entitlement. Patricia's voice came out as a whisper. Luce, we do believe in you. Do you? I challenged gently. Because this morning, you forgot to buy me a Christmas gift while spending hundreds on everyone else. This conversation is the first time any of you have learned about my business success, my property investments, my charitable work, or any meaningful aspect of my actual life. I held up my phone again, but that's okay because while you weren't paying attention, something else was happening that's about to change everything. Tyler looked nervous. What do you mean? I smiled mysteriously and opened a different app. Well, remember how I mentioned I'd been documenting family dynamics for research purposes? Amanda's eyes widened. The recordings you mentioned earlier. Those recordings, yes, but also something much bigger than audio files. I tapped an icon labeled live stream and the app opened to show viewer statistics. You see, I've been sharing our Christmas morning conversation with a slightly larger audience than just this living room. The numbers on the screen showed 250,000 active viewers. Much larger, actually. Tyler's face drained of all color as he stared at my phone screen. What do you mean, live stream? I mean, our entire Christmas morning conversation has been broadcast live to my social media followers across multiple platforms. I explained, calmly turning the phone so everyone could see the viewer count climbing steadily toward 300,000. "You've been filming us," Patricia shrieked, jumping up from her chair. "Not filming, audio streaming with occasional screen shares of documents and foundation materials," I clarified. "My followers tune in regularly for discussions about family dynamics, business success, and overcoming adversity." Amanda stood up so quickly she knocked over her coffee mug. "Luz, this is completely illegal. You can't record people without consent." "Actually, Colorado is a one-party consent state for recordings," I replied in my most helpful tone. "As long as one participant in the conversation consents to recording, it's perfectly legal. And since I'm a participant who consents, we're operating within legal boundaries." Tyler frantically grabbed for my phone. "Turn it off. Turn it off right now." I held the device away from him while continuing to speak to the camera. My audience has been incredibly supportive during my journey of building businesses while dealing with a family toxicity. They've watched me grow from a struggling artist to a successful entrepreneur, despite systematic discouragement from the people who should have been my biggest supporters. Comments began flooding the livestream faster than I could read them. "OMG, your family is terrible. You're inspiring. How can they treat you like that? Your foundation sounds amazing." Patricia lunged for the laptop. "Stop this immediately. This is private family business." "Is it private when it happens in front of extended family, friends, and neighbors?" I asked easily, moving the device away from her reach, because Uncle Mark, Aunt Susan, Jennifer, and everyone else here are witnessing the same behavior my online community is seeing. I addressed the camera directly. "My followers have been asking for months when I'd finally confront my family about their treatment. Today seemed like the perfect opportunity to demonstrate the difference between chosen family who support your growth and biological family who diminish your achievements." The viewer count hit 400,000. Donation notifications started popping up on screen. "Oh, this is interesting," I said, reading the messages. "My community is sending donations to the Luminous Arts Foundation in real time. Looks like we've already received over $15,000 in new contributions just during this conversation." Jennifer covered her mouth with both hands. "Luce, how many people are watching this?" "Currently, 412,000 across YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook," I replied, checking analytics. Though the numbers are climbing rapidly, my content often goes viral when it touches on family trauma and personal empowerment themes. Tyler's girlfriend Stephanie whispered urgently in his ear, then quickly gathered her purse and headed toward the front door. "I need to go," she announced without explanation. Stephanie has the right idea," I told my audience. "Sometimes you have to remove yourself from toxic environments, even during holidays." Amanda's legal training kicked in. "Luce, you need to understand the potential consequences of publicly humiliating your family. There could be defamation issues, privacy violations, emotional distress claims." "Could there be?" I asked innocently, because everything I've shared has been factually accurate and supported by documentation. I haven't made false statements or shared private information that isn't already part of public records. I pulled up my property ownership documents again. These real estate holdings are public information available through county records. My business success is documented through tax returns and legal filings. The foundation's work is published on our website for transparency purposes. Patricia started crying, though, whether from anger or humiliation wasn't clear. "How could you do this to us? We're your family." "You're absolutely right," I agreed. "You are my family, which makes your behavior even more shocking to my audience." I read some comments aloud. Jessica from Portland writes, "I can't believe they forgot to get you a gift, then laughed about it." Michael from Atlanta says, "Your family clearly doesn't deserve you." Sarah from Chicago asks, How did you stay so calm and positive despite their cruelty? More donation notifications appeared. The foundation account was receiving contributions from viewers worldwide who felt inspired by the story of overcoming family dismissiveness through personal achievement. This is actually working out perfectly, I told the camera, because my audience gets to see exactly what I've been describing in my business motivation content. They can witness firsthand how some families systematically undermine one member while celebrating others. Tyler found his voice again. What do you want from us? Lose money, apologies. What will it take for you to stop this? I don't want anything from you, I replied honestly. I wanted you to understand who I actually am instead of who you assumed I was. Mission accomplished. I gestured around the room. Look at everyone's faces right now. For the first time in my adult life, this family is paying complete attention to my words and taking my accomplishments seriously. Amanda sat back down heavily. Okay, you've made your point. We underestimated you. We didn't realize how successful you'd become. Now, can we please have a private family conversation? We are having a private family conversation, I said cheerfully. It's just being shared with people who've been supporting my journey toward success and emotional healing. I checked the viewer statistics again. 500,000 people now. This is definitely going to be my most watched live stream ever. Patricia wiped her eyes with a tissue. What are you going to do with all this footage? Well, I said thoughtfully, my audience has been requesting that I write a book about building businesses while overcoming family trauma. Several publishers have already reached out about memoir opportunities. I smiled brightly at the camera. I think today's conversation would make an excellent final chapter, don't you think? Tyler's voice came out as a hoarse whisper. A book! But first, I continued ignoring his question. There are a few more revelations that I think everyone will find absolutely fascinating. I opened another app on my phone because the business success and foundation work are just part of the story. The really interesting part is what I discovered about our family's financial history during my research. Patricia's eyes went wide with alarm. What kind of research? The kind that reveals some very interesting information about trusts, inheritances, and legal proceedings that certain family members thought would remain secret forever. Amanda's legal instincts activated immediately. What legal proceedings? I smiled mysteriously and turned back to the camera. Well, my dear audience, it looks like we're about to get into the really dramatic part of today's story. Before we discuss legal matters, I said to my rapidly growing audience, let me explain something about family business dynamics that might interest those of you building your own enterprises. I pulled up financial documents on my laptop screen. My father, Robert, owns Martinez and Sons building a construction company he founded 30 years ago. Tyler has always been groomed as his successor, despite showing minimal interest in actual construction work. Tyler shifted nervously. I've been learning the business for years. Have you? I asked mildly, because the company's financial records tell a different story. I opened a spreadsheet showing profit and loss statements. Martinez and Sons has experienced declining profitability for 18 consecutive months. Cash flow problems have resulted in delayed vendor payments, reduced employee benefits, and canceled equipment upgrades. Robert finally spoke up, his voice defensive. Construction is a cyclical industry. We've had temporary setbacks, but business always recovers. Just temporary setbacks, I repeated thoughtfully. Is that what you call losing 3 major contracts due to missed deadlines and quality control issues? I scrolled through project records. The Morrison residential development canceled after foundation work failed city inspection twice. The Greenwood Commercial Plaza terminated when completion ran 4 months behind schedule. The Riverside School renovation reassigned to competitors after electrical work had to be completely redone. Jennifer gasped. Dad, I didn't know the business was struggling. It's not struggling, Robert insisted. Every construction company faces challenges. You're absolutely right, I agreed, which is why smart business owners diversify their revenue streams and maintain adequate cash reserves for unexpected difficulties. I pulled up bank statements. Unfortunately, Martinez and Sons currently operates with negative working capital and depends entirely on new contract deposits to meet payroll obligations. Tyler's face reddened with anger and embarrassment. How do you have access to company financial records? Oh, excellent question, I said with a bright smile. The answer reveals something that's going to surprise everyone in this room. I opened a legal document folder on my laptop. Over the past 18 months, I've been quietly purchasing minority ownership stakes from various investors and business partners who needed liquidity. Patricia leaned forward. What does that mean? It means that while Dad thought he owned 100% of his construction company, several silent partners and minority shareholders have been selling their stakes to a shell company I established. I displayed a corporate ownership chart. Martinez Holdings LLC, the same entity that owns my real estate properties, has been systematically acquiring shares in Martinez and Sons Building through legitimate market purchases. Robert's voice came out as a whisper. That's impossible. Actually, it's completely legal and surprisingly common in family businesses facing financial stress. I explained to both my family and my online audience. When companies need cash and can't secure traditional financing, minority partners often sell their equity stakes to outside investors. I clicked through purchase agreements dating back over a year. Your former partner, Jake Williams, sold his 12% stake last March when his wife needed surgery funds. Your supplier, Tom Rodriguez, sold his 8% ownership in June to cover his daughter's college tuition. Your accountant, Linda Chen, sold her 15% share in September when she decided to retire early. Tyler grabbed the laptop to examine the documents more closely. These are real legal contracts. Completely legitimate business transactions, I confirmed. Each sale was properly documented, legally executed, and filed with appropriate state agencies. I opened a summary document showing total ownership percentages. When you combine all the minority stake purchases over 18 months, Martinez Holdings LLC now owns 51% controlling interest in Martinez and Sons Building. The room fell completely silent, except for notifications chiming from my live stream as viewers reacted to this revelation. That means, I continued calmly, that I am now the majority owner of the construction company that was supposed to be Tyler's inheritance. Robert stood up so quickly his chair fell backward. You can't own my company. I can and I do, I replied gently. All purchases were conducted through licensed brokers using fair market valuations. Your company's bylaws specifically allow minority stake transfers without board approval for transactions under 20% per calendar year. I showed a timeline of purchases. I stayed within legal limits by spreading acquisitions across multiple calendar periods and using different purchasing entities that all ultimately trace back to my holding company. Amanda's legal mind was racing. Did Dad know about any of these sales? The sellers were not required to notify him under the existing corporate structure. I explained, minority partners have the legal right to sell their stakes to qualified purchasers without majority owner approval. I addressed my online audience. This is actually a common scenario in small family businesses that don't properly structure their ownership agreements. Many entrepreneurs discover too late that their minority partners can sell to outside investors. Tyler's voice cracked with emotion. Why would you do this to us? I didn't do anything to you, I corrected. I made strategic business investments in an undervalued company with significant potential for improvement under better management. I pulled up the company's employee records. Martinez and Sons employs 47 people whose jobs depend on the company's financial stability. Their families depend on steady paychecks and reliable benefits. Patricia dabbed her eyes with tissues. So what happens now? Are you going to fire everyone? Fire them. I looked genuinely confused. Why would I fire skilled workers who've been loyal to the company for years? I opened a business plan document. I'm going to implement modern management practices, updated equipment, digital project tracking, and professional development training that should increase profitability within 6 months. Robert slumped back into his chair. You're taking over my life's work. I'm preserving your life's work, I corrected gently. Under current management, Martinez and Sons would likely file bankruptcy within 18 months. 47 families would lose their income, and 30 years of business relationships would be destroyed. I showed financial projections comparing current trajectory with proposed improvements. Under restructured operations, the company should return to healthy profitability while providing job security for all current employees. Tyler looked devastated. But it was supposed to be mine someday. It still can be, I said kindly, once you learn proper business management, financial planning, and leadership skills. Consider this an opportunity to prove you're capable of earning responsibility instead of inheriting it. I turned back to my online audience. This actually demonstrates an important principle for anyone building wealth or running family businesses. Success requires competence, not just family connections. The livestream viewer count had climbed past 700,000. Comments flooded in from business owners sharing their own stories of family dynamics affecting professional relationships. But wait, I said cheerfully, we're still not done with today's revelations, because the construction company buyout is actually connected to something much bigger that I discovered during my research into family financial history. Amanda looked alarmed. What else could there possibly be? I smiled mysteriously. Well, let's talk about Grandma Elena's trust fund and why certain family members thought I would never find out about my rightful inheritance. Patricia's face went completely white. Tyler made a strangled sound. Amanda started shaking her head frantically. Oh, yes, I said sweetly. We definitely need to discuss the $3 million trust that was supposed to be divided equally among grandchildren, but somehow got restructured to exclude me entirely. The silence that followed my words was so complete, I could hear the grandfather clock ticking in the hallway. My online audience was going absolutely wild in the comments, but the living room felt frozen in time. The Elena Martinez Family Trust. I continued pulling up legal documents that made Patricia visibly flinch. Established by my beloved grandmother 6 months before her death, originally designed to provide equal inheritance for all 3 grandchildren. I showed the original trust document dated 3 years ago. Grandma Elena's initial will specified that her $3 million estate would be divided equally among Amanda, Tyler, and myself. $1 million each to be distributed when we reached age 25, or upon graduation from college, whichever came first. Tyler found his voice first. Grandma always said she wanted to help all of us get started in life. She did indeed, I agreed. Grandma Elena spent her final months carefully planning how her life savings could give each grandchild opportunities for success and financial security. I opened another document showing amendments made after the original will. Unfortunately, certain family members convinced a dying elderly woman to modify her trust in ways that dramatically altered the intended distribution. Patricia stood up abruptly. Luz, this is inappropriate. Grandma's estate matters are private family business. Are they private when they involve legal fraud and elder manipulation? I asked, calmly addressing both the room and my livestream audience, because that's exactly what happened during Grandma Elena's final weeks. I displayed a timeline showing the trust modifications. Amendment 1, filed 6 weeks before Grandma's death, changed the distribution language from equal shares to all grandchildren to shares allocated based on demonstrated responsibility and family contribution. Amanda's law degree was making her very nervous. Luce, be careful about making accusations without proof. Oh, I have extensive proof, I replied cheerfully. Amendment 2, filed 3 weeks before Grandma's death, redefined demonstrated responsibility to exclude anyone whose career path was deemed impractical or unlikely to succeed. I read directly from the legal document. Beneficiaries must demonstrate stable income from traditional employment or established business ventures approved by family consensus. Tyler shifted uncomfortably. That sounds reasonable. Grandma wanted to make sure her money went to good use. Does it sound reasonable? I asked my online audience. Keep in mind that these amendments were drafted and filed by Amanda, who had been working at Grandma's bedside and had power of attorney during her final illness. The live stream comments exploded with outrage. Elder abuse. That's theft. Contest the will. Sue them all. Amendment 3, filed 1 week before Grandma's death, I continued, specifically excluded artistic pursuits, creative ventures, and unproven business concepts from qualifying as acceptable career paths. I looked directly at Amanda. Interesting how these amendments perfectly targeted my chosen profession while protecting yours and Tyler's inheritance rights. Patricia was crying again, but this time she looked genuinely ashamed rather than just embarrassed. Luce, it wasn't supposed to be permanent. We thought you'd eventually choose a more stable career. So you stole my inheritance to motivate career changes, I asked incredulously. You convinced a dying woman to disinherit her granddaughter because you disapproved of my life choices? I turned back to the camera. My audience should understand that at the time these amendments were made, I was 24 years old, had just completed my art degree with honors, and had already begun building my first online business. I pulled up my college transcripts and early business records. I was demonstrating exactly the kind of responsibility and success orientation that Grandma Elena wanted to reward. But because my success didn't fit traditional expectations, I was systematically excluded from family inheritance. Amanda tried to mount a legal defense. The trust amendments were properly executed according to state law. Grandma was mentally competent and made informed decisions. Was she mentally competent when she forgot my name twice during those final weeks? I asked pointedly. Was she making informed decisions when she asked why Tyler wasn't visiting while he was sitting right next to her bed? I opened medical records that made everyone uncomfortable. Grandma Elena's physician documented significant cognitive decline during her final month. Her pain medication caused confusion and memory issues that affected her judgment. Tyler looked sick. We didn't know she was that confused. Didn't you? I challenged. Because Amanda's legal notes from those bedside meetings show detailed discussions about protecting family assets from poor decisions and ensuring inheritance security for responsible family members. I displayed Amanda's handwritten notes that she'd left in Grandma's house after the funeral. Amanda wrote, convinced Elena to modify trust language excluding Luz's art career. Tyler and I will manage distributions responsibly. Amanda's face went completely white. Where did you get those notes? From Grandma's house when I cleaned out her belongings, I replied. You left them in the kitchen drawer along with the power of attorney documents you used to manipulate a dying woman. I addressed my online audience again. For those following along, this represents a clear case of elder financial abuse and inheritance fraud. Fortunately, Colorado law provides remedies for exactly these situations. Patricia begged, Luce, please don't air our family problems publicly like this. These stopped being private family problems when you committed legal fraud against a vulnerable elderly person, I responded firmly. Elder abuse is a serious crime that affects thousands of families. I opened another folder of legal documents, which brings us to the most satisfying part of this story, the 18-month legal battle that resulted in complete restoration of the original trust terms. Tyler's voice came out as a squeak. Legal battle! Martinez versus Martinez Family Trust. I announced showing court filing documents, a successful challenge to fraudulent trust amendments based on evidence of elder abuse, undue influence, and beneficiary manipulation. I scrolled through court records. Judge Patricia Williams ruled that the trust amendments were invalid due to clear evidence of cognitive impairment and family manipulation during Grandma Elena's final weeks. Amanda looked absolutely devastated. The court overturned the amended trust. Completely, I confirmed with obvious satisfaction. The judge ordered full restoration of the original equal distribution terms, plus interest, plus legal fees, plus damages for emotional distress caused by inheritance theft. I showed the final court judgment. Instead of receiving $2 million to split between yourselves, Amanda and Tyler, each received exactly what Grandma Elena originally intended, $1 million each. And I received my rightful inheritance of $1 million plus an additional $400,000 in damages and legal fees. The room was completely silent except for the chiming notifications from my increasingly excited online audience. So the mystery money I used to build my real estate portfolio and business empire, I said cheerfully, it came partially from the inheritance you tried to steal from me, returned with interest and penalties. I closed the legal documents and smiled brightly at the camera. Sometimes justice really does prevail, especially when you have patience, good legal representation, and extensive documentation of fraudulent behavior. Patricia looked broken. "We're so sorry, Luz. We made terrible mistakes." "Yes, you did," I agreed calmly, "but the most terrible mistake was underestimating exactly how determined I could be when protecting my rights and honoring Grandma Elena's true wishes." Tyler buried his face in his hands. "Is there anything else we don't know about?" I checked my phone and grinned at the viewer count. "Well, we've hit 1 million live viewers, which means this conversation is officially going viral." I held up the device so everyone could see the screen. Which brings us to the next phase of today's revelations. The numbers on my phone screen were staggering. 1.2 million live viewers across all platforms with thousands of new followers joining every minute. Comments flooded in faster than the system could display them, creating a waterfall of support, outrage, and disbelief. "This is absolutely incredible," I told my audience, genuinely amazed by the response. I've never seen engagement numbers like this on any of my previous content. I read some comments aloud. Jennifer from Seattle says, "Your family owes you more than money. They owe you years of apologies." David from Miami writes, "I'm starting my own business after watching your success story." Maria from Phoenix asks, "How do I support your foundation?" Patricia looked terrified as the reality of public exposure sank in. "Luz, thousands of people are watching this. What if our friends see it? What if our neighbors see it? What if your colleagues see it?" I asked Amanda pointedly. "What if your clients discover how you treat family members? What if Tyler's business contacts learn about his pattern of failures and family manipulation?" I pulled up social media analytics on my laptop. The hashtag #LoseChristmas is trending on Twitter. TikTok videos with clips from our conversation have already been viewed 3 million times. Instagram stories featuring screenshots of my foundation work are being shared by major influencer accounts. Tyler looked panicked. "Can people identify us? Do they know our real names?" "Well, I've been using our actual first names throughout the conversation," I said thoughtfully, "and my business profiles clearly identify me as Luz Elena Martinez from Denver, Colorado. So yes, anyone who knows our family would definitely recognize these stories." I showed them trending social media posts. Local Denver influencer accounts are already sharing content about this live stream. The Denver Business Journal's Twitter account posted about a viral family business drama involving real estate and construction companies. Amanda's phone started buzzing with notifications, then Tyler's phone, then Patricia's. The sound of multiple devices receiving messages filled the room like an electronic thunderstorm. I would guess those are messages from friends, colleagues, and business contacts who are discovering our conversation through social media shares, I observed calmly. Amanda looked at her phone and went pale. Oh no, oh no, no, no. What is it? Patricia asked anxiously. Partners at my law firm, clients, other attorneys in the city. They're all sending me links to clips from this live stream. Amanda said, her voice rising with panic. Everyone is seeing this. Tyler checked his phone and made a choking sound. 3 potential clients just canceled meetings scheduled for next week. They're saying they don't want to work with someone from that cruel Christmas family. I nodded sympathetically. Social media can be unforgiving when people witness authentic cruelty. Your behavior this morning has been preserved in dozens of video clips that will probably circulate for months. I showed them trending video compilations. Look at this one with 4 million views. Family forgets daughter at Christmas, she reveals $1 million empire. Or this one with 2 million views. Cruel parents get exposed by successful daughter they dismissed. Patricia started hyperventilating. This is a nightmare. Our reputation in the community will be destroyed. Will it? I asked gently, because I think this conversation actually reveals everyone's true character quite clearly. You're being judged based on your own words and actions, not anything I've misrepresented. I pulled up comment threads from local Denver social media groups. Actually, let me read some reactions from people in our community. Here's one from someone who recognizes Dad's construction company. I always wondered why Martinez and Sons had such poor customer service. Now I understand the family culture. Robert winced as I continued reading. Here's another from someone who knows Amanda professionally. I would never hire a lawyer capable of such family cruelty. Character matters in legal representation. Amanda's phone buzzed again. She looked at the screen and her face crumpled. My law firm's managing partner wants an emergency meeting tomorrow morning. 3 clients have already called asking to transfer their cases to other attorneys. The consequences of public behavior can be quite significant, I agreed, especially in Denver's interconnected business community where reputation and character references matter enormously. I checked my foundation's donation page. On the positive side, the Luminous Arts Foundation has received over $2 million in new contributions just since this livestream began. Apparently, your cruel behavior has inspired massive charitable giving. Tyler looked defeated. $2 million. $2.4 million and climbing. I confirmed, showing the real-time donation tracker. Viewers are contributing money specifically because they want to support someone who succeeded despite family toxicity. I read donor comments. Here's one donation for $5,000 with the message, "For all the Christmas gifts your family never gave you." Another for $10,000 saying, "Your foundation represents everything your family should have been." Patricia was crying quietly now. What can we do to fix this? How do we make things right? You can't fix this, I replied honestly. The internet doesn't forget, and authentic behavior reveals authentic character. Millions of people now know exactly how this family treats members who don't meet conventional expectations. I turned back to my audience. But this situation demonstrates something important about accountability and consequences. For years, my family felt comfortable treating me cruelly because they assumed there would never be any real repercussions. I gestured around the room at their horrified faces. Today, they're learning that actions have consequences even within families, even during private moments, even when you think nobody important is watching. Amanda tried one more legal argument. Lus, you've essentially destroyed our professional reputations over family disagreements. That seems disproportionate. Is it disproportionate? I asked my viewers. Let's see what my audience thinks about proportionality. I read comments for several minutes. The overwhelming consensus was clear: my family had earned these consequences through decades of systematic cruelty. The verdict from 1.5 million viewers is pretty unanimous, I announced. They believe that people who treat family members with sustained cruelty deserve public accountability for their behavior. I checked the time on my phone. We've been live streaming for 2 hours and 40 minutes. This is definitely the longest and most impactful content I've ever created. Tyler looked around the room desperately. Isn't there some way to end this? To stop it from spreading further? I smiled gently. Tyler, this stopped being something I control about an hour ago. Social media virality has its own momentum now. Millions of people are sharing, commenting, and creating their own content based on our conversation. I showed them analytics from various platforms. Content featuring our family is now trending on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube simultaneously. We've accidentally created a cultural moment about family dysfunction and accountability. Patricia wiped her eyes with tissues. So what happens now? Where do we go from here? Well, I said thoughtfully, that depends entirely on whether you've learned anything from today's experience or whether you're just sorry about getting caught. I looked directly at each family member because the cameras might stop rolling, but the lessons about respect, consequences, and genuine family love are permanent. I turned back to my audience. Speaking of permanent changes, there are still a few more developments that I think everyone will find very interesting. Amanda looked terrified. What else could there possibly be? Well, I said with a mysterious smile, we haven't discussed the immediate professional consequences that are already beginning, or the longer-term impacts this exposure will have on everyone's careers and social standing. I opened a new browser window, because while we've been talking, some very interesting things have been happening in the real world that I think deserve attention. My phone buzzed with an incoming call just as I was about to reveal the next development. The caller ID showed Harold Hartwell, senior partner. Oh, this is perfect timing, I announced to my audience. Amanda, your law firm's managing partner, is calling my phone instead of yours. Amanda's face went ashen. Why would he call you? I answered the call on speakerphone so everyone could hear. Hello, Mr. Hartwell. Ms. Martinez, this is Harold Hartwell from Hartwell and Associates. I apologize for calling on Christmas Day, but we're facing an unprecedented situation regarding your sister Amanda. I gestured for Amanda to respond, but she seemed frozen. What kind of situation, Mr. Hartwell? Our firm has received over 200 phone calls and emails in the past hour from current and potential clients who refuse to work with an attorney capable of the family cruelty they witnessed on social media. Amanda finally found her voice. Mr. Hartwell, I can explain. Amanda. I'm afraid explanations won't suffice, he interrupted. 6 of our major corporate clients have threatened to terminate their retainer agreements unless you're immediately removed from their cases. The Denver Bar Association has received formal complaints about your character and fitness. I watched Amanda crumble as her professional world collapsed in real time. Sir, this was a private family matter that got blown out of proportion. We're private. Mr. Hartwell's voice carried obvious disbelief. Amanda, your behavior has been witnessed by over 1 million people. Our firm's reputation for integrity and family values has been severely compromised by association with your conduct. I muted the call temporarily and addressed my audience. For those just joining us, we're listening to Amanda's law career disintegrate because her employers discovered how she treats family members. I unmuted the call. Mr. Hartwell, this is Luce again. What immediate actions is the firm considering? Ms. Martinez, I must inform you that the partnership has voted for Amanda's immediate suspension pending a full review of her conduct and its impact on client relationships. We may need to ask for her resignation to preserve the firm's reputation. Amanda started hyperventilating. Tyler reached over to steady her as she swayed in her chair. I understand completely, I replied sympathetically. Professional reputation is built over years and can be destroyed in moments when character flaws are publicly exposed. Indeed, Mr. Hartwell agreed. I'm sorry this occurred during your family holiday, Ms. Martinez. For what it's worth, the partners are quite impressed by your charitable foundation work that's been highlighted in the media coverage. After ending the call, I turned to my devastated sister. Amanda, I'm genuinely sorry your career is suffering, but this demonstrates why character and integrity matter in professional settings. Tyler's phone rang next. His business partner Jake appeared on the screen through video call. Tyler, what the hell is going on? Jake shouted. My phone hasn't stopped ringing for an hour. Clients are canceling contracts. Prospects are withdrawing interest, and everyone is asking about the cruel Christmas family business scandal. I gestured for Tyler to take the call off speaker, but he was too rattled to think clearly. Jake's voice continued broadcasting to my live stream audience. Pinnacle Solutions sent a formal notice terminating our proposal consideration. Morrison Industries canceled next week's presentation. The Riverside Development Project Coordinator said they can't work with a company associated with family abuse. Tyler's voice cracked with desperation. Jake, I can fix this. Give me a chance to explain to these clients that this was all a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? Jake's laugh was bitter. Tyler, there's video footage of you mocking your sister while she revealed that she's been financially supporting herself better than our entire company. You look like an entitled failure who treats family members cruelly. I read comments from my live audience. Tyler's business partner makes an excellent point about public perception and professional credibility. Jake continued his devastating assessment. I've worked for 3 years building relationships in this market. I can't have my reputation destroyed by association with someone who participates in family emotional abuse. Tyler pleaded desperately. Jake, we're partners. We built this company together. We built a struggling consulting firm that was already failing, Jake corrected harshly. Now it's a struggling consulting firm connected to a viral scandal about cruelty and entitlement. I'm dissolving our partnership effective immediately. The call ended, leaving Tyler staring at his phone in shock. His girlfriend had already left. His business partner had abandoned him. His professional reputation was destroyed. 2 careers ending simultaneously, I observed to my audience. This demonstrates the real-world consequences of treating people cruelly, even within families. Patricia's phone started ringing. The caller ID showed Denver Country Club, management. Mom, you might want to take that call privately, I suggested gently. But Patricia was too distraught to think clearly. She answered on speakerphone. Hello. Mrs. Martinez, this is Richard Bradford from the Denver Country Club. We're calling about some concerning social media content featuring your family that's been brought to our attention. Patricia looked confused. What about it? Mrs. Martinez, the club has strict standards regarding member conduct and community reputation. The behavior displayed in these viral videos conflicts with our family values and respectful treatment principles. I couldn't help smiling at this development. Patricia, it seems your social standing at the country club is being questioned. Mr. Bradford continued, several prominent members have expressed discomfort about the family cruelty they witnessed. The membership committee will be reviewing your continued club privileges pending investigation of this matter. Patricia started crying again. Mr. Bradford, this was a private family discussion that got misunderstood. Ma'am, treating family members with deliberate cruelty and public humiliation is not a misunderstanding. It's a character issue that reflects poorly on our club's reputation. After that call ended, I addressed my audience directly. What we're witnessing here is the complete collapse of social and professional standing that occurs when authentic character is publicly revealed. I pulled up social media analytics showing continued viral spread. The story has now been picked up by local Denver news stations. Channel 7 is running a segment called Christmas Cruelty Goes Viral. Channel 4 featured my foundation work in a positive story about turning family trauma into charitable success. Tyler looked around the room desperately. How do we make this stop? How do we fix our reputations? You can't fix authentic character flaws with public relations strategies, I replied honestly. The only way to rebuild trust and respect is through sustained behavioral change and genuine accountability. I showed them news coverage from multiple Denver media outlets. The story is being framed as inspirational content about overcoming family toxicity through personal success. You're all being portrayed accurately as people who systematically diminished someone who became more successful than any of you. Amanda found her voice again. Luz, what do you want from us? Apologies, money. What will it take for you to help us recover from this? I don't want anything from you, I replied calmly. I wanted you to understand the consequences of treating people cruelly. Mission accomplished. I gestured around the room at their devastated faces. Each of you is experiencing accountability for years of dismissive, cruel behavior towards someone who was building success despite your lack of support. Patricia wiped her eyes. So there's nothing we can do. There's plenty you can do, I replied. You can learn from this experience. You can genuinely apologize and change your behavior. You can build authentic relationships based on respect instead of hierarchy. I turned back to my audience. But first, they need to understand that this situation is far from over, because while we've been documenting the immediate professional consequences, there are some longer-term implications that haven't been revealed yet. Tyler looked terrified. What kind of implications? Well, I said thoughtfully, remember how I mentioned that publishers have been interested in my story about building businesses while overcoming family trauma? Amanda's eyes went wide with alarm. What about publishers? I smiled mysteriously. Let me tell you about the book deals, documentary opportunities, and speaking engagements that are going to make this conversation a permanent part of American business and family psychology literature. Within minutes of mentioning book deals, my phone exploded with notifications. Literary agents, publishers, and media producers were reaching out faster than I could read their messages. This is absolutely unprecedented. I told my live audience, showing the flood of professional inquiries. I've received 17 publisher emails, 12 documentary production offers, and 23 speaking engagement requests just since our conversation started trending. I opened one message and read it aloud. From Simon & Schuster, Ms. Martinez, we're prepared to offer a 7-figure advance for your memoir about building business success while overcoming family emotional abuse. Your authentic story could inspire millions of people dealing with similar family dynamics. Tyler made a strangled sound. 7 figures. Here's another one from Netflix. I continued reading. We'd like to discuss a documentary series following your foundation work and business success, with potential for a limited series dramatization of your family's transformation story. I scrolled through more offers. Harvard Business School wants me to keynote their entrepreneurship conference. The University of Colorado invited me to speak at their commencement ceremony. TEDx Denver is offering a featured speaker slot for next month. Amanda looked sick. All of this attention is because of our conversation. All of this attention is because millions of people relate to the experience of being dismissed by family members who later discover they underestimated someone's potential. I corrected. I read social media comments from viewers sharing their own stories. Listen to these responses from my audience. Sarah from Boston writes, my family told me I'd never succeed as a freelance designer. Now I make 6 figures and they keep asking for loans. Michael from Portland says, my parents called my tech startup a waste of time. 5 years later, I sold it for $30 million. I continued reading viewer testimonials. These stories are incredibly common. Family members often become invested in limiting narratives about each other, then struggle to adjust when someone exceeds their expectations. Patricia spoke up desperately. Luce, if you write a book about today, you'll be sharing private family information with the entire world. Will I be? I asked thoughtfully. Because everything I'd include in a memoir has already been shared publicly through this live stream. Plus, authentic personal experiences aren't private property that other people can control. I pulled up legal information about memoir publishing. Authors have broad rights to share their own experiences, especially when those experiences involve overcoming adversity or building business success despite obstacles. Amanda's legal training kicked in. There could be privacy issues if you identify family members by name or share specific details. Could there be? I replied innocently, because we've all been using our real names throughout this live stream, which has been viewed by over 2 million people and shared across social media platforms worldwide. I showed them trending hashtags featuring our family name. Martinez Christmas drama is trending on Twitter. Denver family business scandal is viral on TikTok. Our story is already public knowledge documented through video content. Tyler looked around the room hopelessly. So our humiliation becomes permanent through books and documentaries. Your behavior becomes a case study in family psychology and business success despite adversity. I clarified. The humiliation is a natural consequence of choices you made, not something I'm creating artificially. I addressed my online audience. What makes this story compelling for publishers and media producers is the authentic documentation of family dynamics changing in real time as success becomes undeniable. I opened messages from major media outlets. The Wall Street Journal wants to interview me about women entrepreneurs overcoming family skepticism. Forbes is requesting a feature article about building wealth through online businesses. Good Morning America invited me for their upcoming segment on family business dynamics. Patricia started hyperventilating again. This means everyone in Denver will know about our family problems. Everyone in Denver already knows about your family problems, I pointed out gently. Local news stations have been covering this story for the past hour. Your friends, neighbors, and business associates are seeing the same content as everyone else. I pulled up local Denver social media groups. Actually, let me read some reactions from people in our community who recognize our family. I scrolled through comments from neighborhood groups and local business networks. Here's one from someone who knows Dad's construction work. I hired Martinez and Sons last year, and now I understand why their customer service was so poor. The family culture explains everything. Robert winced as I continued reading community responses. Here's another from someone in Mom's book club. Patricia always bragged about Amanda and Tyler while never mentioning Luce. Now we know why. She was probably ashamed that Luce was more successful than her golden children. I checked donation updates for my foundation. Speaking of community response, the Luminous Arts Foundation has now received over $4 million in contributions from people inspired by this story. Tyler's voice was barely audible. 4 million, 4.2 million, and climbing. I confirmed, showing real-time donation tracking. Major corporations are reaching out about partnership opportunities. Art supply companies want to sponsor foundation programs. Universities are offering collaboration agreements. I read donor messages. Here's a donation for $50,000 from someone who wrote, "For every family dinner where they made you feel worthless." Another for $25,000 with the message, "Your success, despite their cruelty, proves that chosen family matters more than blood relations." Amanda looked broken. How long will this continue? When will people move on to other stories? The authentic stories about overcoming adversity and building success tend to have lasting impact, I replied thoughtfully, especially when they're supported by documentation and inspire charitable giving like this. I showed them continued viral spread across social platforms. The story has been translated into 12 languages and is trending internationally. People worldwide are sharing their own experiences of family members who underestimated their potential. Patricia begged, "Please, Luce, we understand we made mistakes. Can't we work this out privately now?" We are working it out privately," I said cheerfully. We're having the most honest conversation this family has ever had about respect, success, and the consequences of treating people cruelly. I turned back to my audience. For those following along, we're witnessing the complete transformation of family power dynamics in real time. The family member who was dismissed and excluded is now the most successful, respected, and publicly supported person in the room. I checked my phone again. 2.6 million live viewers now. This conversation has officially become one of the most watched family intervention videos in social media history. Tyler looked around desperately. What happens when the cameras finally stop rolling? What happens to our relationship as a family? That depends entirely on what you've learned from today's experience, I replied honestly, because the cameras might stop, but the lesson about treating family members with basic respect and dignity should be permanent. I smiled at my audience. But before we discuss family healing and moving forward, there's one final revelation that I think will put everything in perspective. Amanda looked terrified. What else could there possibly be? The intervention attempt that's about to happen, I said mysteriously, and how it's going to backfire more spectacularly than anything we've discussed so far. As if summoned by my prediction, Patricia suddenly stood up and moved toward my laptop with determined desperation. Enough! This ends right now! She lunged for the computer, but I calmly closed it before she could reach the keyboard. Mom, what exactly are you hoping to accomplish? I'm stopping this nightmare before it destroys our entire family, she declared, her voice shaking with a mixture of panic and newfound resolve. Tyler and Amanda exchanged glances before standing up in what appeared to be a coordinated effort. Luz, we need to talk, Amanda said in her most professional attorney voice. This has gone far enough. I looked around the room with genuine curiosity. Are you staging an intervention? How fascinating! We're staging a conversation about forgiveness and family healing, Patricia corrected, moving closer to my chair. We're going to work through these issues like mature adults instead of broadcasting our problems to strangers. I pulled out my phone, which was still live streaming to nearly 3 million viewers. My audience isn't strangers. They're people who've followed my journey for years and have supported my success through their engagement and encouragement. Tyler stepped forward with his hands raised in a placating gesture. Luz, we get it. We messed up. We didn't realize how successful you'd become or how much our dismissiveness hurt you. We're sorry, and we want to make things right. Are you sorry? I asked gently. Or are you sorry about the consequences of getting caught treating me cruelly in front of millions of witnesses? Amanda tried her legal negotiation tactics. We're proposing a family meeting to discuss genuine apologies, behavioral changes, and moving forward with mutual respect. But that conversation needs to happen privately without social media documentation. Why does it need to happen privately? I asked my online audience. What's wrong with public accountability for family healing? I read comments from viewers. My audience has excellent insights about this intervention attempt. Jennifer from Seattle writes, they only want privacy now that their behavior has consequences. David from Miami says, private apologies are meaningless after public cruelty. Patricia's voice became pleading. Honey, we're family. Families make mistakes, but we work through problems together. We forgive each other and move forward. We do forgive each other, I agreed cheerfully, after genuine accountability, sustained behavioral change, and evidence of authentic remorse rather than damage control. Tyler's desperation was becoming more obvious. What do you want from us? Luz, specific apologies, changed behavior, financial compensation. Tell us what it will take to fix this. I don't want anything from you, I replied for what felt like the 10th time. I wanted you to understand who I actually am instead of who you assumed I was. Mission accomplished. Amanda tried a different approach. Okay, we understand now. You're incredibly successful, generous, and accomplished. We were wrong to dismiss your achievements. Now can we please end the public humiliation and rebuild our family relationships? Were you wrong to dismiss my achievements? I asked thoughtfully. Or are you just recalculating your behavior now that ignoring me has become socially and professionally costly? I turned to my live stream audience. This is actually a perfect example of how toxic family members respond when their cruelty finally has consequences. Notice how they're focused on stopping documentation rather than examining their behavior. Patricia grabbed my arm desperately. Luce, please. Think about what you're doing to us. Think about our reputations, our careers, our standing in the community. "Eh, I'm thinking about it," I replied calmly. "I'm thinking about how your reputations are based on your authentic behavior, which is exactly what millions of people witness today." Tyler tried appealing to family loyalty. "We're your family, Luz. We love you, even if we didn't show it well. Don't you think we deserve a chance to make things right privately?" "Do you love me?" I asked with genuine curiosity, because forgetting to buy me a Christmas gift while spending hundreds on everyone else doesn't feel particularly loving. I gestured around the room, laughing at my exclusion, dismissing my career, excluding me from family support systems, manipulating grandma's inheritance to cut me out. Does that behavior demonstrate love? Amanda's voice cracked with what might have been genuine emotion. "We made terrible mistakes. We treated you horribly. We're genuinely sorry and want to do better." "I appreciate that," I replied sincerely, "and I hope you do genuinely want to improve as people and family members." I looked directly at each of them. "But here's what you need to understand. This conversation isn't punishment, it's education. For you, for my audience, and for millions of people who relate to being dismissed by their families." Patricia started crying again. "So there's nothing we can do to end this. No way to earn forgiveness and move forward." "There's absolutely a way to earn forgiveness and move forward," I assured her, "through sustained behavioral change, genuine accountability, and evidence of authentic growth rather than damage control." Tyler slumped back into his chair. "How long will that take?" "As long as it takes," I replied honestly. "Character transformation doesn't happen on convenient timelines." I addressed my live stream audience again. What we're witnessing here is the difference between genuine remorse and strategic apologies designed to minimize consequences. I read viewer comments. My audience has excellent insights about this family intervention. Maria from Phoenix writes, "Real apologies include changed behavior, not just words." Thomas from Chicago says, "They want forgiveness without earning it through personal growth." Amanda made one final legal argument. "Luz, you've made your point. You've documented our mistakes and shown everyone your success. Continuing this public exposure serves no constructive purpose." "Doesn't it?" I asked with a bright smile, "because something incredible has just happened that I think changes everything about this situation." I opened my email and showed them a message that had arrived during their intervention attempt. "While you were focused on stopping my documentation of this conversation, I received an offer that's going to make today's revelations permanently valuable." Patricia looked terrified. "What kind of offer?" "From Random House Publishing," I announced, showing the email. "A $3.2 million advance for a memoir trilogy about building business success while overcoming family emotional abuse." The room fell completely silent except for notification sounds from my phone. 3 books. I continued reading. Book 1 covers my childhood and early business development. Book 2 documents today's conversation and its aftermath. Book 3 follows the family's transformation journey over the next 2 years. Tyler's face went completely white. 2 years of documentation. The publisher wants to follow our family's healing process as a case study in accountability, forgiveness, and genuine behavioral change, I explained cheerfully. Amanda looked horrified. "You're going to write about us for 2 more years." Only if there's a transformation story worth documenting, I replied. The trilogy concept depends on whether this family actually learns and grows from today's experience. I smiled brightly at my audience, which brings us to the final phase of today's conversation, the part where we discuss what comes next and what this family has learned about respect, consequences, and the difference between authentic love and conditional approval. I opened my business management app and projected the screen onto my laptop for everyone to see. Before we discuss family healing and moving forward, I think it's important for everyone to understand the complete financial implications of today's revelations. The spreadsheet showed a comprehensive breakdown of business relationships, property investments, and professional connections linking my success to their careers. Let's start with Amanda's situation, I said, highlighting relevant figures. Hartwell and Associates pays $12,000 monthly rent for their prestigious downtown offices. That's $144,000 annually going directly into my property investment returns. Amanda stared at the numbers in growing horror. You're my landlord for another 18 months. Actually, that depends entirely on lease renewal negotiations, I corrected. As building owner, I have complete discretion over tenant retention rental rates and space allocation decisions. I pulled up market analysis data. Comparable downtown office space currently leases for $15,000 to $18,000 monthly. Your firm has been getting below market rates because the previous owner needed quick occupancy during the pandemic. Tyler found his voice. What does that mean for Amanda? It means that when your lease expires in March, market rate renewal would increase monthly costs by at least $3,000. I explained. Unless tenant behavior and relationship quality justify continued preferential pricing. I turned to my live stream audience. For those following along, this demonstrates how business relationships and family dynamics can become financially interconnected in unexpected ways. Amanda's voice came out as a whisper. Are you going to evict my law firm? I'm going to make business decisions based on professional standards and tenant quality, I replied calmly. Character matters in commercial real estate relationships. I scrolled to Tyler's section of the financial analysis. Now let's discuss Tyler's situation with Pinnacle Solutions. I displayed email correspondence between myself and Pinnacle's executive team. As their primary creative contractor, I have significant influence over vendor selection and partnership decisions. Tyler leaned forward desperately. Lus, you know I need that contract to save my business. I know you wanted that contract, I corrected, but as I explained earlier, your company lacks the infrastructure expertise and financial stability to deliver what Pinnacle requires. I showed projected costs versus Tyler's available resources. The project requires $500,000 in upfront investment for specialized staff technology systems and performance guarantees. Your company currently has negative working capital. Tyler's voice cracked. I could find investors. I could bring in partners. I could make it work. Could you? I asked gently, because investors typically require business plans, financial projections, and track records of successful project completion. How would you demonstrate readiness for a contract of this magnitude? I pulled up Tyler's business credit report again. Credit score of 412, outstanding debts to 3 suppliers, lapsed business insurance, no collateral for additional financing. I addressed my online audience. This illustrates why business relationships depend on competence and reliability rather than family connections or wishful thinking. Patricia spoke up defensively. Luz, you could help Tyler succeed if you wanted to. You could mentor him or provide financial backing. Could I? I asked thoughtfully. What evidence suggests that Tyler would use mentoring or financial support effectively? I scrolled through 3 years of family financial history. Tyler has received approximately $200,000 in family bailouts for failed ventures. Each time he promised to learn from mistakes and build sustainable success. Tyler looked embarrassed. This time would be different. Why would this time be different? I asked seriously. What specific skills, knowledge, or behavioral changes have you developed since your last business failure 6 months ago? I waited for an answer that never came. Tyler, you're intelligent and charismatic, I continued kindly, but intelligence without discipline, work ethic, and financial responsibility doesn't translate into business success. I turned back to the financial analysis. Now let's discuss Dad's construction company situation. Robert sat up straighter as I highlighted Martinez and Sons building data. As majority owner, I'll be implementing significant operational changes beginning in January. Robert's voice carried a note of panic. What kind of changes? Marden, modern project management systems, digital financial tracking, professional development training for supervisors, and performance-based accountability for all leadership positions. I listed systematically. I displayed the company's declining performance metrics. Profit margins have decreased 18 consecutive months. Customer satisfaction scores are below industry standards. Employee turnover exceeds acceptable levels for skilled construction work. Tyler realized the implications first. Dad, if Los owns the company, she controls everything. I control business operations, I confirmed. Hiring decisions, project selection, vendor relationships, financial management, and strategic planning all require my approval as majority owner. Robert looked devastated. It's my life's work. I built that company from nothing. You built an excellent foundation, I agreed sincerely, but current management practices are threatening the jobs of 47 families who depend on company stability. I showed employee retention data and customer feedback reports. Under improved leadership, Martinez and Sons could return to healthy profitability within 6 months, while providing job security and career advancement opportunities for skilled workers. Patricia asked the question everyone was thinking. What happens to Robert's role in his own company? Robert remains a valuable employee with decades of construction expertise, I replied diplomatically. His technical knowledge and client relationships are important company assets. I paused meaningfully. However, financial management and strategic decision-making will transition to leadership with proven business competence. I turned to my livestream audience. This represents a practical example of how business ownership and family relationships intersect when competence and nepotism conflict. Tyler looked around the room desperately. So you control Amanda's office lease, my potential client relationships, and Dad's entire company? I control business assets that I've legally acquired through strategic investment and professional competence, I corrected. Those assets will be managed according to sound business principles rather than family favoritism. I opened a summary document showing total financial exposure. Combined, these business relationships represent over $2 million annually in revenue controlled by decisions I make as property owner and business operator. The room fell silent as everyone processed the magnitude of their financial dependence on someone they'd been treating cruelly for years. This is actually quite common in family business dynamics, I explained to my audience. Often, the family member who's dismissed or underestimated becomes the most successful and influential person in the group. I smiled at my family members. The difference is that now you understand exactly how successful and influential I've become. Amanda found her voice first. What do you want from us, Luce? What will it take for these business relationships to continue? Business relationships continue based on professional standards, not family negotiations, I replied firmly. Character, competence, and integrity matter more than blood relations. I closed the laptop and looked around the room. But before we discuss moving forward, there's one final element of today's story that I think will put everything in perfect perspective. Patricia looked exhausted. What else could there possibly be? The community response that's going to define how this story ends, I said with a mysterious smile, and why today's conversation represents the beginning of transformation rather than the end of relationships. My phone started ringing with an incoming video call just as I was about to explain the community response. The caller ID showed Sarah Chen, elementary school. "Oh, this is perfect timing," I told my audience. Sarah was my best friend during childhood, before family politics interfered with our relationship. I answered the call and put it on speaker so everyone could hear. "Hi, Sarah." Luce. "Oh my God, I've been watching your live stream along with half of Denver. I had to call and share something with your audience." Patricia's face went pale as she recognized Sarah's name. Amanda and Tyler exchanged nervous glances. "What did you want to share?" I asked, though I suspected I knew where this was heading. "The story about why our friendship ended when we were 12. Sarah said, her voice carrying years of suppressed frustration. "Your audience deserves to know how this family has been treating you since childhood." I gestured for my family to remain seated as Sarah continued. "Mrs. Martinez told my mother that I couldn't play at your house anymore because I was a bad influence on you. She said I was encouraging your artistic interests when you should be focusing on more practical skills." Tyler looked confused. "Sarah was a bad influence. She was valedictorian of your high school class." Sarah was encouraging my creativity and artistic development," I explained. "Mom decided that any friend who supported my art was interfering with her plans to steer me toward more conventional career paths." Sarah's voice grew stronger through the speaker. "But the worst part was what happened when Lus won the regional art competition in 8th grade. Patricia started shaking her head frantically, but Sarah continued. "Luz's painting was selected for the statewide exhibition, and she was so excited to share the news with her family. But Mrs. Martinez told her the celebration dinner had to be canceled because Tyler had a baseball practice that same night." I watched Tyler's face as he processed this information. "A regular practice, not even a game." "Not even a game," Sarah confirmed. "A routine Tuesday practice for 13-year-old recreational league baseball, but Luz's artistic achievement couldn't be celebrated because it might conflict with Tyler's sports schedule." My audience was responding with outrage in the comments. I read a few aloud. Michelle from Portland writes, "They've been systematically undermining your confidence since childhood." David from Boston says, "This explains why you're so determined to succeed despite their lack of support." Sarah wasn't finished. "And Amanda, your viewers should know about high school graduation too." Amanda looked terrified. "Sarah, that was a long time ago." Luz graduated as salutatorian with a full scholarship to Colorado State. Sarah continued relentlessly, but the family celebration focused entirely on Amanda's acceptance to law school. Luz's achievements were mentioned briefly before conversation shifted to Amanda's future career prospects. I nodded sadly. I remember feeling invisible at my own graduation party. "Because you were invisible," Sarah said bluntly, "your family treated your academic success as a footnote to Amanda's law school acceptance." My phone buzzed with another incoming call. This time it was Marcus Thompson, high school art teacher. "Mr. Thompson is calling," I announced to my audience. "He taught me advanced art classes during high school." I merged the calls so both Sarah and Mr. Thompson could speak to my livestream audience. "Once Lutz, I've been following your story today and I felt compelled to share some information about your high school years," Mr. Thompson began. Amanda looked sick as another witness to family dysfunction joined the conversation. "Luz was the most talented student I taught in 30 years of art education," Mr. Thompson continued, "but she almost dropped out of advanced placement art because her family convinced her it was impractical time wasting." He paused before delivering the most damaging revelation. "I called your parents multiple times requesting permission for Luz to enter national art competitions. Mrs. Martinez told me to stop encouraging unrealistic dreams and focus on helping Luz develop marketable skills." Patricia was crying silently now, finally understanding how her dismissiveness had been witnessed by the broader community. The tragedy is that Luss could have earned significant scholarship money through art competitions, Mr. Thompson explained, but family discouragement prevented her from even trying. Sarah spoke up again. Mr. Thompson, tell them about the portfolio incident. Oh, yes, he said grimly. Luz spent months preparing a portfolio for early college admission to prestigious art programs. The night before the deadline, her family convinced her not to submit it because art school was too risky financially. I watched my family members realize that their systematic discouragement had been observed by teachers, friends, and community members for years. My phone buzzed with text messages from other childhood friends and teachers who were watching the live stream. I read a few aloud. Mrs. Rodriguez, my middle school counselor, writes, I tried to advocate for your artistic talents, but your parents insisted you focus on conventional subjects. Coach Martinez from track team says, your family never attended your meets, but they never missed Tyler's baseball games. The pattern was becoming undeniable. Multiple witnesses were confirming years of systematic family dismissal and discouragement. Tyler spoke up desperately. We didn't realize we were being so unsupportive. Didn't you? Sarah challenged through the speaker, because everyone around you noticed. Teachers, friends, neighbors, coaches. We all saw how differently Luss was treated compared to Amanda and Tyler. Mr. Thompson added, the community has been watching this family's dynamic for years. Today's live stream simply confirmed what many people already knew about how Luz was being treated. I turned to my audience. This demonstrates something important about family emotional abuse. It's rarely invisible to the broader community. Teachers, friends, and neighbors often witness the systematic undermining of one family member. I read more supportive messages from community members. The overwhelming consensus from people who knew our family is that today's revelations about success and achievement don't surprise them. They're surprised it took this long for the truth to emerge. Sarah spoke directly to my family members. All of you should understand that Luz's success today happened not because of family support, but despite family discouragement. She succeeded while being systematically undermined by the people who should have been her biggest supporters. Mr. Thompson's voice carried decades of professional authority. In 30 years of teaching, I've seen many talented students whose families either supported or sabotaged their potential. Luz represents a rare example of someone who succeeded despite family sabotage. I thanked both Sarah and Mr. Thompson before ending their calls. The room fell silent, except for notifications from my live stream audience. So there you have it, I told my family, multiple witnesses confirming that today's conversation represents the culmination of patterns that have been developing for decades. I looked directly at each family member. The question now is whether you've learned anything about respect support and the difference between authentic love and conditional approval. Patricia wiped her eyes. We had no idea how much damage we were causing. You had plenty of idea, I corrected gently. You had feedback from teachers, coaches, friends, and community members. You chose to ignore that feedback because acknowledging it would have required changing your behavior. I turned back to my audience. But here's the beautiful part of this story. Sometimes the family member who's dismissed and undermined becomes the most successful, generous, and respected person in the group. I smiled brightly, which brings us to the final part of today's conversation, the discussion about forgiveness, transformation, and what authentic family relationships look like when they're built on mutual respect instead of hierarchy and favoritism. 6 months later, I'm sitting in the same living room where this journey began, but everything has changed in ways I never could have imagined. The live stream that Christmas morning reached over 10 million views across all platforms and became one of the most shared family intervention videos in social media history. My memoir, Building an Empire from Betrayal, debuted at #1 on the New York Times bestseller list and has been translated into 37 languages. But the real transformation happened quietly in daily conversations and gradual behavioral changes that don't make headlines but rebuild trust one interaction at a time. Amanda's law career initially suffered devastating consequences. Hartwell and Associates asked for her resignation after losing 12 major clients who refused to work with someone capable of family cruelty. But instead of retreating into victimhood or resentment, Amanda used this forced career break to examine her values and priorities. She spent 3 months volunteering at domestic violence shelters, learning about family trauma and emotional abuse from people who'd experienced far worse than anything in our family. The work taught her empathy and perspective that transformed her understanding of relationships and human dignity. When Amanda rebuilt her legal practice, she specialized in family law and protecting abuse survivors. Her experience with public accountability and professional consequences gave her unique credibility with clients who needed someone who understood the real-world impact of family dysfunction. We renewed her office lease at below-market rates because her tenant behavior improved dramatically. She pays on time, maintains the space professionally, and treats building staff with respect and courtesy she'd never shown before. Tyler's business partnership dissolved completely as his partner Jake refused to rebuild their reputation after the viral scandal. But this forced Tyler to confront his pattern of failed ventures and external blame for personal shortcomings. He enrolled in community college business courses and spent 6 months working construction for Dad's company at entry-level wages. The physical labor and humble position taught him work ethic and team cooperation he'd never developed during years of inherited privilege. Tyler's new consulting firm focuses exclusively on small business financial planning, where his personal experience with failure and recovery provides authentic value to struggling entrepreneurs. His client base includes several business owners who discovered his story through the viral video and appreciated his authentic transformation. I didn't renew his Pinnacle Solutions contract opportunity, but I referred him to smaller companies where his developing skills matched their actual needs. He's building competence and confidence through appropriately scaled projects, instead of attempting ventures beyond his capabilities. Patricia and Robert attended family therapy for 4 months, working with a counselor who specialized in favoritism patterns and family hierarchy dysfunction. The sessions were painful, but necessary for understanding how their parenting choices had created lasting damage. Mom joined the board of my Luminous Arts Foundation, using her social connections and organizational skills to support children's creative programs. Her volunteer work provides meaningful purpose while demonstrating genuine commitment to values I care about. The Denver Country Club initially suspended their membership, but Patricia earned reinstatement by leading a charity drive that raised over $200,000 for local arts education. Her social standing recovered through authentic community service rather than superficial image management. Dad transitioned into a senior advisor role at Martinez & Sons Building, focusing on client relationships and technical expertise, while I handle financial management and strategic planning. The company returned to healthy profitability within 4 months under improved operational systems. Most importantly, the family gatherings are smaller now, but infinitely healthier. We meet monthly for dinner, and conversation includes genuine curiosity about each other's lives, challenges, and achievements. Nobody gets dismissed or ignored. Everyone receives equal attention and respect. The hierarchy that defined our family dynamics for decades has been replaced by mutual appreciation and earned trust. Amanda asks for my business advice and actually listens to my responses. Tyler shares his struggles honestly instead of making excuses. Patricia and Robert express pride in my accomplishments without comparing them to my siblings' achievements. But the most meaningful change is in the extended relationships that have grown from this experience. The foundation has expanded internationally, providing creative opportunities to children in 12 countries. My speaking engagements focus on overcoming family trauma through personal success and helping others build authentic self-worth. The book trilogy became a case study in family transformation, taught in psychology and business programs at major universities. Thousands of people have shared their own stories of being underestimated by family members who later discovered their assumptions were wrong. Through all these changes, I've learned that authentic family love isn't about blood relations or meeting conventional expectations. It's about surrounding yourself with people who celebrate your authentic success and support your growth, whether those people are biologically related or chosen through shared values and mutual respect. The greatest gift isn't what others give you during holiday celebrations. The greatest gift is the strength you discover when you learn to value yourself regardless of their approval. When you build your own empire of success, generosity, and purpose, you create the foundation for relationships based on respect rather than obligation. True family members are people who lift you up when you succeed, support you when you struggle, and appreciate your contributions without minimizing them to elevate others. Sometimes those people share your DNA, and sometimes they're the community you build through authentic connection and shared purpose. My empire wasn't built from betrayal, despite the book title that captures people's attention. My empire was built from determination, self-respect, and refusal to accept limitations that others tried to impose on my potential. The betrayal simply provided motivation to prove that their dismissiveness was wrong. Today, 6 months after that transformational Christmas morning, I'm surrounded by family members who've learned to show genuine love through changed behavior, rather than empty words. The foundation continues growing, the businesses are thriving, and most importantly, the relationships are based on mutual respect and earned trust. But I want to ask my audience something important as we conclude this journey together. How many of you have experienced being underestimated or dismissed by family members who later discovered they were wrong about your potential? How did you handle the challenge of loving people who didn't initially believe in your dreams? Share your stories in the comments below because your experiences matter and might inspire someone else who's building their own empire despite family discouragement. Like this video, if the message resonated with your own journey of overcoming limitations that others tried to place on your potential. Subscribe to follow more content about building success while maintaining authentic relationships, and please share this story with anyone who needs encouragement to value themselves regardless of family approval or disapproval. Thank you for joining me on this transformational journey, and remember that the most beautiful family relationships are built on respect, support, and celebration of each other's authentic achievements. Whether you're building business success, creative fulfillment, or personal growth, you deserve family members who lift you up rather than tear you down. Until next time, keep building your empire and surrounding yourself with people who appreciate the incredible potential that lives within you. You are worthy of love, respect, and celebration exactly as you are, and your authentic success is a gift to everyone wise enough to support it. The greatest Christmas gift I ever received was learning to give myself the love and respect that I'd been waiting for others to provide. That gift keeps giving, creating space for relationships that honor my worth while inspiring others to demand the same level of respect in their own family dynamics. Build your empire, celebrate your success, and never let anyone convince you that your dreams are too big or your achievements are too small to matter. You matter, your success matters, and authentic family love celebrates that truth every single day.